What's going on, guys? It's your boy. Welcome back to another video. So today we're going to be talking about Taika Waititi's newest movie out in theaters right now, Next Goal Wins.
Modern movie review.
Alrighty, this is probably going to be a really quick review, but I want to go ahead and say this right off the bat. I do think that Taika Waititi is a pretty solid director. I love a lot of his movies. The Jojo Rabbit movie is incredible. I think that he did a really good job with Thor Ragnarok, and I think that Thor Love and Thunder has a lot of moments that feel really good. And aside from it getting a little too silly in that movie, Taika Waititi's direction is still relatively good, and I like his vision for things. So I was very excited to see this movie, and for the most part, I think it's pretty good. So I'm gonna dive right into this. I'm gonna say spoiler alert. What spoiler alert if you haven't seen the movie? But also, I don't think this is a movie that can be ruined with spoilers or anything like that. So for beginners, I want to go ahead and start off talking about the humor in this movie. Obviously, Taika Waititi is a director who's known primarily for his comedy, and I will say I watched this movie on the same day that I watched the Thanksgiving horror movie that's out right now, and I thought that the Thanksgiving horror movie was funnier than this movie. I don't by any means think that this movie isn't funny, but I think that for a lot of it, there's a lot of gags that don't really work for me. I think that there's one specific character who is absolutely hilarious, and the majority of the things with him works really well, but there's a lot of like little gags here and there that I'm like, you can tell he just threw that into the movie because he's like, I feel like we've gone 5 minutes without a joke. Throw one in there, right there. So like there's a couple sequences in here where there's comedic things that are like, they're funny because you don't expect them, but it's also like a very cheap laugh, and it's just like a gag that is kind of over the top and unnecessary in the movie. For one, there's a sequence where they're doing like this little montage and they're recruiting players on the island who used to play for the team, but they don't anymore for whatever reasons. And the majority of them go pretty poorly. Like they'll talk to a guy and the guy's just like, it was the most embarrassing thing in my life. I will never play for that team ever. And I refuse to play for that team. And then there's a guy who's like, oh, they kicked me off the team because they absolutely hated my guts, and there's stuff like that. And then finally they get a kid who's like really excited to play on the team, and he's just like, I won't let you down, coach. I'll be there for practice. And then he walks into the middle of the street and gets hit by a bus. And I was like, okay, that's a thing that happened. Another thing later in the movie, there's a sequence where the like coach manager person who owns the FFS or whatever it's called, like the Football Association for American Samoa or whatever, the guy who owns that club, he has like a stroke or something. He wakes up in a medic tent, and there's a sequence that follows that where they explain to him, you know, everything that happened in the rest of the soccer game that we were watching. And in the end, whenever he like gets up or whatever, you see there's a guy in the background in the tent who just has like a giant like knife through him, and I was like, what is happening? And I think, I could be wrong, I think that the gag was earlier somebody said, you can't get under our skin, we have very thick skins, you can't cut under our skins unless you use like a really nice like sharp knife or maybe like a pair of scissors. And I think that it was a pair of scissors that was in him. So like I think that that's what the joke was supposed to be, but I was so caught off by the fact that like that was just a thing that was there. And it was like a lot of the humor in this movie was kind of like that. But there are a lot of bits that work. One thing that I really love that will probably always get me in any form of comedy movie, this trope where things just continue going on for an awkwardly long period of time. There's a moment where the owner of the club keeps going to Michael Fassbender's character, who's the coach of the club, and is giving him a lot of life advice. And there's one sequence where he's giving him the life advice, and then he just like keeps walking away and repeating himself, and it goes on for a solid like 30 seconds, and that is to me absolutely hilarious because he just keeps doing it. And we just watch as he slowly gets more and more like out of frame, and it slowly like zooms out, and it's uncomfortably long how long it keeps happening, but it's funny, right? I think that the humor in this movie overall is pretty good. It's just not one of those movies where you're going to go and you're going to be laughing the entire time, which I think is actually really good. I think that if you go to this movie and you're just expecting a quick laugh, you're going to be a little disappointed, but I think that if you go to this movie expecting a pretty decent, beautiful story, you'll pretty much enjoy it. I think that it was really good. I think that the storytelling is beautiful. I think that the way that they represent the culture, obviously I don't know anything about the American Samoa culture, but I think that they do a really good job with showing how unique some of their things are. The fact that they don't make fun of the culture at all, but there's a couple sequences that are funny because the culture is the way that the culture is. And I think that it's really interesting. They have a lot of like really nice, beautiful like moments where they're singing together in harmony. They're a very religious people, so they also have a lot of moments where like you'll hear a bell go off and then everybody just starts praying and stuff like that. And I think that that is incredibly beautiful. And I like the fact that they show all of these soccer players are also doing more for their community, because on top of just playing soccer, they also have to have jobs and help the economy of their little island stay afloat. And I really like it because Michael Fassbender in this movie is soccer player. He's somebody who is a professional. He's somebody who's probably like a little bit more on the like rich side of things. And he's looking at this group of people and kind of thinking, wow, these people are kind of poor. And he's kind of like not really able to connect with them as well as somebody who's grown up poor. And I think that they do a really good job of showing that like these people are willing to do so much and sacrifice so much so that they can play the game of soccer because they have fun with it. They really enjoy being on the field together and hanging out together and spending time together, and they see it more as like a fun experience to get together and like bring their country together, as opposed to it just being, oh, we do this so that we could get our paychecks in the mail, which I think is really nice. And I think that it really helps with Michael Fassbender's character, because Michael Fassbender's character goes through a beautiful story in this. I think that he is an incredible arc, and I think that Michael Fassbender's acting in this is absolutely incredible, and I think that his story is incredibly well done. So for starting from the beginning with his character, he's somebody who played soccer in the professional soccer leagues. He was somebody who was a professional for a really long time, and eventually he kind of got kicked out of soccer clubs because he couldn't keep his behavior aligned. He got ticked off really easily. He's a very hot-headed person. And then he went on to coach soccer and then kind of had the same problem where he got fired because he's too angry at everything and he's constantly just yelling at people. He's constantly tearing people down and stuff like that. And he seems to be a very negative person. And throughout the course of the movie, we kind of realize that like he's somebody who's kind of gone too far into something that he loved. Like he used to love soccer, he used to be passionate about soccer, but now he's kind of like buried himself in his work and he hasn't taken a moment to appreciate the game of soccer, as opposed to he's kind of visualizing it now as like this is his job and he won't take it as anything other than his job. And there's a couple of lines in here where people say to him something along the lines of like, soccer's a game, and he kind of like takes it personally. He doesn't like it. He hates that. He's just like, it's not a game, it's more than that. And then eventually it helps him because he realizes his mistake is that he's going too hard and he needs to learn to have fun. And I really liked his character arc because he goes from somebody who's very serious, somebody who's passionate, but not in the same way that the people who are the American Samoa soccer team are passionate about it. And he learns to simplify things, bring things back to basics, and get back to what he liked about soccer, which was it's a fun game. And there's a lot of things to enjoy about it. And I think that entire character arc is incredible in this. I think that Taika Waititi's writing for it is great. I think that Michael Fassbender's acting for it is great. And I think that the slow build of it is also fantastic. And I really enjoyed that. I think that there's also a couple of other more interesting characters in here as well. I think that the goalkeeper getting to redeem himself after letting 31 goals be scored on his team or whatever, him getting his redemption arc, and this is fun. Gaia, the transgender soccer player who is learning to be a team leader and be a team captain, and this was really cool. And I really love everything with her story and her bravery and her willingness to stand with the coach who at first didn't really believe in her, didn't really like understand with her, connect with her because she's transgender. And them kind of having that bond towards the end of the movie was really, really impactful, and I really like that. And I will say, this movie is mostly seen as a comedy. Most people will say that this is a comedy because it's Taika Waititi, and it's one of the few movies this year that has made me cry. I think that all of this movie does a really good job of slowly building up this team dynamic, and the fact that these people who are playing this soccer together and the coach are now more like a family than just some people who randomly play soccer, which I really love. And then it all builds up and leads to Michael Fassbender's character, the coach, giving a halftime speech where he opens up about himself and he tells the people that they need to be themselves, and that if they want to win the game of soccer, they have to be willing to just be themselves and do what makes them special, because he's trying to make them soccer players and they're not soccer players. So he's trying to tell them, hey, don't listen to anything I say, play the way you guys want to play, and you guys will do amazing. And then eventually they win. And it's great. It is very beautiful. It is a very triumphant movie. It is something that really caught me off guard because I was going to it just, to kind of like laugh and to have a good time, because I was like, I'm going to watch a horror movie later. Let me watch something that's going to cheer me up first. And then I cried when we got to Michael Fassbender talking about opening up and being very emotional in it. And I don't want to spoil what that is in case people go to see the movie. I think that's one of the biggest like reveals of the movie, and they slowly build it up over time, and it's really well done. But I like this movie. I think it has a little bit of things for everybody. I love all the training montages. It really oddly feels like Mulan. And I don't like know why, but like they're slowly training, and like all of the training sequences, if you put them all together, it really feels like the whole I'll make a man out of you sequence from the original Mulan movie, and I love it. It made me so happy. But yeah, That being said, I'm going to give this movie a solid 82 out of 100. I think that there's definitely a lot of things that probably could have been changed about it. I think that there's a lot of missed opportunity for the comedic aspect of things, but I think that comedy overall is subjective. So I think that the story is beautiful. I think that the characters are beautiful. I think that there's a lot of aspects that are kind of unnecessary. Like, I think that the manager, the person who's Michael Fassbender's like boss who sends him to Hawaii, I feel like everything with him is kind of very unnecessary. But and then there's also a couple of other like obnoxious Americans who are in this movie who I feel like did not need to be a part of it. But other than that, I think the movie's pretty good and it's pretty solid, and I would definitely recommend watching it out if you guys want a little heartfelt story about a soccer team learning to be a soccer team and coming together as a family. But yeah, that being said, that was it for this video, guys. Thank you guys so much for coming by and checking it out. I love and appreciate you guys so much for watching. If you liked it, feel free to like and subscribe, and I will hopefully see you guys in the next one. Peace out. Bow. Bow. Bow.
He wanted me to trouble first, I did this. We planned a day, and then we did this. Wanna be in love with the girls with the kisses. Don't give a damn, I'll written this. I like this when I run the distance. I run a 5K, you go ballistics. I wanna live within the business. Buy more than what's on the clearances. You're getting big because I know you're a physicist. I wanna deny this shit, I'm unlimited.